underground subterranean cities. Where do we go from there? Should we do some more structure stuff? Oh, we talked about corn, so maybe we'll talk about corn. A subterranean lake. Colorado has a subterranean lake. Okay, listen. This is a lake below ground. Okay, in a cave. I apologize for the poor quality on the clip, but this one's from a long, long time ago. I clipped this one years and years ago. Colorado has a subterranean lake of considerable extent, covered with soil about 18 inches thick. On the soil is cultivated a field of corn which produces 30 bushels to the acre. The ground is black marl in nature, and in all probability, the lake was once an open body of water on which accumulated vegetable matter, which has been increasing over time, from time to time, until now it has a crust sufficiently strong and rich to produce fine corn. Imagine this. Imagine going in a cave and seeing a lake covered in 18 inches of vegetable matter with huge rows of corn growing on it. While harvesting, the hands catch great strings of fish by making a hole through the earth. A person rising on his heels, a person on this 18 inches of vegetable matter, right? They rise up on their heels and come down suddenly, can see the growing corn shake, rolls like, around him. And having sufficient strength to drive a rail through the crust will find on releasing it that it will disappear altogether. Crazy. This is like biodynamics times 1,000. You got fish, you got the roots growing through this vegetable matter into the lake. You got all the fish eating think of the nitrates and think of the ecosystem here, Hydroponics, yeah. Hydrodynamic hydroponics, 100%. So, and then there's one more corn one that I want to touch on that I've mentioned before. And I don't think I put it in this clipping. Okay, I have to find it. So give me 1 second. It's really important. Bum, 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 bum. I should probably see how everyone's doing. 126 people here. Thank you so much for joining me. I get in the zone and you know how bad I am at looking at chat. So I'm looking up an article about a gentleman who found corn. Here we go. Okay. So we're hopping over from the subterranean corn, right, that we just read. Cave, underground, lake of corn. A corn experiment. Fresh seed corn is at a discount in the Northwest since a certain Chicago man tried his hand at raising the cereal. His seed was several hundred years old, and his crop is the marvel of the neighborhood. 2 years ago, while he was investigating the Indian mounds of Colorado and studying the customs of the ancient red man as evidenced by the relics which they had left behind, he came upon a sealed jar in the interior of one of the mounds. Upon opening it, he found it contained kernels of Indian corn, evidently in good condition, although discolored from age. More from curiosity than anything else, he planted some of the corn. Upon his return, to his own astonishment, as well as to the astonishment of everyone else who knew of the experiment, nearly every kernel sprouted and grew. Not only that, but it grew to an unusual size. The height of the stalks measuring 12 feet, many of the ears being as long as a man's forearm. This would indicate that the Indians knew a thing or two about agriculture before we began sending them to college. The Chicago man harvested his crop with great care and generously distributed a part of it among his friends, who in turn planted their seed the next spring. One of the possessors of John S. Dodge of the Washington Crosby Milling Company is cropped it equally well, and he in turn divided the precious kernels. The corn has naturally created much interest on the part of those who have known its ancient origin, and there is a demand for the specimen kernels to plant. As each kernel of succeeding crop is carefully hoarded, it will not be many seasons before there will be enough for a large number of curious experiments. So I mentioned the wheat of Ophir. They found wheat and all kinds of different seeds in mummies. Not in mummies, sorry, with mummies. They found some in California. And if you remember my Arizona article, they found mummy wheat in Arizona. They planted this mummy wheat. So here's a picture of the guy. Okay. The seeds he took back home with him to Illinois. The gentleman is almost 6 foot. So, and the ears of corn, like I said, are as big as his forearm. Anyone that's seen an ear of corn that big, unbelievable. I've never seen one that big, and I've never ever seen corn this tall. And we talked about with the mummy wheat that they had a very similar experience. The wheat grew, I think there was like 4 times the yield per acre, 4 times, and that's very similar to this. The harvest was almost double, and with corn, that's unheard of. And ears of the ears being 12, 14, 15 inches. We're dealing with a culture that, you know, when we talk about the irrigation and the type of canal work in Arizona, and then you're finding, this was part of my correlation with the land of Solomon, and the Ophir of Solomon and Solomon's temple being surrounded by fields of wheat and so on and so forth. That this wheat, this European wheat we talk about, it's actually from America. And the oldest maize and corn is from America as well. And they find corn, with mummies in the Nile. I think we're dealing with similar cultures, just separated by many, many a long distance. So yeah, I wanted to include that. Somehow I left that out of the transition period here. But I guess we'll talk some more about petrifactions. Yeah, we'll talk some more about petrifactions. This one is really weird, and we'll find throughout more mounds, especially in the Mississippi Valley,